Jon and Charles, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Yeah, we're having fun.
First question, Charles, that I wanted to ask you is I want to focus more today. I know Tommy and I want to focus more today on all the great things that are going on, but I know your story leading up to when you found CrossFit is pretty incredible. If you can just summarize a little bit, what was your journey from, early in life to basically where you were in a situation to where you didn't think you were going to be able to turn things around?
Okay. Well, like I said, I had a normal childhood life. Raised in Georgia. Parents moved here to Philadelphia. Finished high school. Went to the service. Right? Came out. Always wanted to be in the construction field. So I would hang out around places where they would have jobs at, and finally got a break and became a laborer, and then I became a carpenter's apprentice. Not realizing that there was something wrong with my eyesight because I wore glasses, so it was always corrected. And nobody ever told me anything. So around age 36, I started losing vision. It started shrinking. I'm saying to myself, oh, something wrong here. But with glasses, I was always able to see 20/20, right? No matter how small the field was. So nobody thought to send me to a ophthalmologist or nerve, whatever those guys are that look at the nerves and all that kind of stuff. And I just went on, but I began to get afraid, especially when it got to the point that I didn't have any peripheral vision in either eye.
What year was that when you finally went blind?
When I finally went blind was totally blind. I lost everything in 1989, at 39 years of age. But at 38, in my 38, I lost job. I was telling people I can't see, and nobody believed me because my eyes were normal, and nobody could tell me what was wrong. And I'm not a lazy person because I've been a worker all my life. And I found out, after going blind and being around the blind community, none of them are lazy people. They just don't have an opportunity to make a decent living, or someone willing to take the time with them to allow them to grow and have a sense of self-assertiveness or internal joy or accomplishment, good or reach a goal. When you have no sight, it takes a long time to reach a goal. So 89, 88, 89 was rough. And then 1990, I just gave up, right? Because, I couldn't see unemployment to run out, and nobody believed I was blind, right? And they said, well, you got to go work. You got to do something. Yeah. I mean, we came up from that era where nobody's going to take care of you, right? And I just got disgusted with myself and said, I quit. I said, God, I quit. So I just went homeless because I couldn't stand my family and all telling me, you got to do something. And I'm telling them, y'all, I can't see.
How long were you homeless for? 6?
From 1990 to 1996. Yeah. April 19, what was it? No. 1990, that storm. When was that? 96. When the storm in 96.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. I was homeless all that time. But being homeless, people don't realize everybody that's homeless has a story. They lost stuff for some reason. A lot of them have mental issues. A lot of them, you just don't understand. The only ones out there that are homeless that are the ones that are criminals, that are running from the law and all that kind of stuff, or the ones in the street game, right? When they, all that kind of stuff. But most people are homeless. They're decent people. They just caught a bad break and emotionally couldn't get back, all that kind of stuff. So after in 1996, I moved from Center City to University City because people were doing strange things to homeless people down there. They were beating them up, setting them on fire, running them over with a car. You know, I don't know why the world got so cold against homeless people, but they did. So we moved up to University City, whereas the churches fed us, and there was a closer homeless community. And the University City police and all the people up there, they looked out for you. You know, they said, okay, we got to have this, so we're going to make a place for them. And yeah, you ate every day. They had a place for you to take a shower, and you just found your place on the street to sleep. You know? So I had a steam at 37th Spruce.
My steam.
My steam it, yeah.
We should go for the sign.
And anyhow, it was a cold, snowy day, and everybody had left me. Normally, somebody will come by and say, "Okay, listen, we're gonna go to the church to eat." Then after the church would feed us, you know, we would hang out a little while, or we had a little money, go get a bottle and make our way back. But this particular day, nobody came, so I walked up to Wawa, which is at 38th and around the corner, 38th and Spruce, and was, you know, asking for change and all that kind of stuff. So I finally got enough to get something to drink, since I figured nobody was coming back for me, right? And I made it to the state store at Market Street. And on my way coming back, the snow had got deeper and deeper and deeper. And I stopped at 38th Street, took a drink, 38th, and there's another steam in at 38th, and what was that, Chestnut, Walnut, somewhere up there. And then 37th, I reached Wawa, and I tried to make it down to my steam, and I just didn't make it. I just passed out. And
that's when you got frostbite, right? You
froze up. And the police came and found me the next morning. They said we were looking for all your arms. They didn't know how they had missed me, right? But I was covered in snow. My whole bottom part of my body was covered in snow. And so they said, come on, we're going to take you to a shelter because it's a code blue. And when I tried to get up, I couldn't move my knees, my feet, everything was couldn't feel it. So they helped me up, and I fell right back down. So the guy, one of the police officers said, listen, you sure you're better? And I said, yeah, I was in the military. So he said, we're taking you to the VA. You know, it's bad enough that you can hardly see, right? And, you know, now you're frostbitten and you're homeless. They'll do something for you. And they got me to the hospital, and they realized I was blind, and they admitted me right away because they told me I was a frozen piece of meat from the top of my knees to the soles of my feet. Everything was frozen, and it took me 23 or 25 days before I could stand on my own 2 feet. I was so frostbitten.
Wow.
You know, but the VA wouldn't let me go.
That's a good thing.
They said, we're going to help you. You know, we're going to get you detoxed. We're going to send you to the blind rehab so you can learn how to live even though you're blind and all that kind of stuff. And I spent 2 years in there. Different VAs, the blind rehab in the West Haven, Connecticut, where I met other blind veterans who, you know, were different ages, and learned how to cook and how to type and how to change clothes. I mean, how to walk with a cane. The skills were phenomenal. And then they gave me a computer that would read. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, you know, life started. I believed I could maybe do something.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was
96.
No, this was in 98 now, 97. Because let's see.
So about a decade before you saw that you were going to not just give up. About 9-10 years after I gave up.
Yeah. Wow. And so obviously there was a trend, you know, you talked about being taken in by the police, going to the hospital, spending time with the VA. you said that you started to believe again that, you could do something. I'm curious where along that point, maybe if there was a particular point in time or something that maybe was the turning point for you, where was that spot when you realized I can do something? Was it a specific point in the VA? Was it, someone who took an interest and showed you that you did, you could have value? Or I'm just kind of curious where exactly that turning point was along that way.
Yes. The VA like I said, I was in the VA system for about 2 years. I went from the blind rehab after spending 8 months there to a place called Bath, New York, the VA there for occupational and vocational therapy. And there they sent me to Cornell University one day a week, then had a professor come another day a week to learn Braille, right? And then I realized I could read Braille, okay? And I could type it. I mean, I couldn't speak it, but that I learned it in Russian and French, Spanish and English. I could transcribe it, right? By typing it and reading it with my fingers and everything. And the guys that were there at the VA would come and say, man, how can you do that? Read them dots and type it. And I realized, hey, I can do something. And I'm sober. And that point there, when I looked up, I said, okay, God, I told you if you just let me walk again, I'd do everything I could. So everybody's helping me and I can walk again. Can't see, still don't have no money, but there's hope. I can do something. I don't know what, I still didn't know what was in front of me for my life.
Were there any specific individuals who you remember who had a particularly big impact on you and you credit them for helping you get to where you are now?
Yes. George Stilwell and Robert Fitzgerald. They're the VIS and BROS coordinators for the Philadelphia VA Medical Center. They followed me and guided my life all through the VA back to independent living, which I gained in 98. They brought me back to Philadelphia and gave me an apartment and all that kind of stuff in 1998. And I was living in Germantown. He helped me find my wife that I abandoned, my wife and children that I abandoned when I went blind. I just gave up, hadn't seen them. And, we found them and I was living independently and they still got me the service to help me go out to do shopping and stuff like that. If it wouldn't have been for those two guys in my life who are veteran employees, VA veteran administrative employees in the blind department, they do so much. They don't get the credit they deserve for all the love they put into us veterans, whether we fail or succeed. Yeah.
And side note on Robert, his best friend from he was 2, Eric Rosa. We just found him.
No way.
That's outstanding.
Eric told us, he was my best friend from 2. We're like, no, I did not know that at all. So a very small world when it comes to these people in Charles's life now. Like we had no idea.
I just got goosebumps. That was crazy.
And it didn't.
No, I was just going to say, I just can't believe.
But it didn't stop. But Robert is still in my life. Every time I needed mobility somewhere
he came here.
Yeah, he brought me here. He gave me mobility down here. He gave me mobility to community college when I went there. He gave me mobility to every place I ever had to go, how to use the bus, how to, all that kind of stuff. He helped me with all my technology equipment, talk and watch. They just give me a phone, right, which I still don't know how to use well.
that doesn't even have to be blind. That's just the phones.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm still learning how to use my phone every time they release a new one.
But it talks, like everything, it talks. I mean, would they be able to hear my watch?
I don't know. Give it a whirl. You love it.
Oh.
Can y'all hear that?
Yeah, we heard that. We can. That's great.
That's cool.
They heard?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. That's how you tell time. You can't see the people look at this watch and say, are you sure you're blind? I said, yeah, listen, they be looking at the face of it. But
it's never right.
The face is never
right. All right, it tells you what time it is. It doesn't show you.
I mean, even a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
Twice a day.
But so kind of, you get started situated on this path again, right? You find some purpose, you find some belief in yourself and your ability to have some fulfillment. But you take some steps, you go to community college, you get an associate degree. And I think for a lot of people, they might think, oh, that's the happy ever after kind of story. But like, that's not how it went. You still had some more hurdles before you got to this point as far as fitness.
Yeah. My wife, I got back with my wife and my children. We had a set of twins, and one of them was terribly sick. She was a paraplegic. We got married in 1999, and she died in 2000. And I was in the room with her, but I couldn't see to help her.
It's tough.
I almost lost it then. Because, you say to yourself, what kind of a man am I? I knew I couldn't help myself. Now I can't help my children. But the GW, I told him, man, listen, I'm about ready to lose it. I said, I got to get higher. Someone says, no, you don't. They put me right back in an outpatient recovery program. And I went on, kept going to school. Right? And we had a grief counselor and all that kind of stuff. So, the VA provided me with all the support I needed. And I kept on praying hard. That's part one. Then halfway through college, right, I got prostate cancer. I diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Man.
I can laugh about this now.
Yeah.
Right? So it was in over 65% of my prostate. So they said, well, we can give you the radiation and the chemo, and then if that don't work, then we can have the surgery. I said, oh, no, you're not. You're not going to do both of them. It's not going to work. So I went and saw another oncologist, and he said, listen, whenever it's in 30% of your prostate, get it taken out. So I had that surgery. Boy, did that have its problems with it, but who knows? And then 6 months after that surgery in 2004, I became a diabetic. The shock to my body from having that surgery caused my pancreas to act up. All this kind of stuff. You never know what you're born with, right? Until you get over 50 and it starts.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So now, prostate cancer. For most men, that means no sex, but you're still a young man. You say yourself, oh my God, now I can't eat foods, I still can't work, can't make a living, take care of my family, and so we went on with that. I got help from the VA with that. And after I graduated, I spent 2 years looking for a job in my profession because, they always tell you the state area, you get a job, don't worry, the state and the VA, all these people will help you. You get education. Well, found out that in my field, social gerontology, associate's degree isn't enough. You need at least a bachelor's. Right? I had a hard enough time getting an associate's degree. Mm-hmm. Okay, so as I'm in another stage of depression, I'm talking about it to my mental health worker and my blind psychologist. Then at a meeting, GW and Robert let us know that, hey, anybody that wants to go to the Olympic Training Center, y'all can go for 8 days for free. And we're saying, what's wrong with you? We all old, right? But they convinced me and another veteran to go, right? And while we were up there, they showed us all the different sports that blind athletes can be engaged in. Mm-hmm. And, there were a lot of other blind young veterans. All these other guys were young. Here I am, 59 years old. Right? And all these other guys are between 18 and 28. Right? But, they they were inspired. They were young, they were blind, they lost their sight for one reason. Some from IEDs, some from TBIs, traumatic brain injury. Yeah, TBI, all that kind of stuff. But they still had a desire to try something. And they inspired me, right? Because some of them wanted to go skiing. Then they took us on the craziest thing in the world. I didn't realize how crazy it was. Tell them, John.
Whitewater rafting. I've been whitewater rafting, and I can see if they had blindfolded me, I would have never done it. I can't imagine being on that river.
We went 20 miles down the Colorado River with the thing going up and down the wood. I'm holding on for my dear life to this boat with a life jacket on, and they're telling us, "Don't worry, we got recovery boats." You know.
Oh man. And so you have the chance to go to the Olympic Training Center and try some sports and new athletic endeavors, curated for you. But you took a kind of a liking to powerlifting. So how did that journey start to take off?
Bench press. Okay, up there, all I could do was bench press. But they took us to Fort Carson, right? And the veterans, because it was a military facility, and that's where they had a meet where they sometimes took the USABA, United States Association of Blind Athletes, took veterans just to meet, active veterans and all that kind of stuff. And they just happened to have a bench press and powerlifting competition. And we went there, and they gave us all medals for doing bench press and everything. Right? So we left Fort Carson. Said, listen, I know what I want to do. I told the director, I forget his name, and then Coach Sampson for the powerlifters. Each sport had its own, and they wired back to GW or phoned him and said, listen, you get back there, this is what he wants, right? But he can only bench press, but he has to learn how to do all three. Squat, bench press, and deadlift. So when we got back to Philadelphia from there, they went on the long journey to try and find me a coach that could teach me how to squat, bench press, and deadlift properly so I could get judged, right? Wow, that was a journey because most Philadelphia facilities or gyms wanted me to have a spotter and a trainer, because I was totally blind, not like being visually impaired. There's two different worlds from visual impairment to blindness.
Yeah.
So we found a guy named Joe Brocker. His gym, he owns the underground gym. They, every year, associated with Villanova, they do the Special Olympics for the teenagers out there, in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So he says, well, listen, I never trained a blind guy. I've only messed with, only had Special Olympic teenagers, with mental issues. He says, but I'll try, right? So they arranged funding for me. And then I had to pay for my own transportation out there twice a week. It took eight months of hard falling, tripping, everything to learn how to squat with the bar and a 10-kilogram plate. Woo! I mean, you can't imagine, you can't see, and you spin one where you get afraid, you try to balance, you get it. Blindness is, whew. It's an internal sport, right? Yeah. So we finally got it together, and he muscle memory, skeletal memory, and all that kind of stuff. And I learned how to squat, and then from the squat, we went to the deadlift, and I kept falling. So anyhow, in 2010 at age 60, coach says, you're ready. You're going to the National Blind Powerlifting Championship at the USABA, because the coach up there in Colorado Springs at the Olympic Training Center called and said, okay, in July we're having it. So I went for the first time at age 60 and competed in my first powerlifting championship.
Yeah, that's great.
With blind, for the blind, right? And we did it at the National Strength and Conditioning Center in Colorado. It's part of the Olympic Training Center, but it got all this fancy equipment. I mean, man. So I mean, you get all this big time stuff, right? And I met other blind powerlifters there, and we all had the same problem, money, right? They would come on every other year, or they hadn't been to the World Games in 3 years because you had to raise the money to go. America don't pay for its athletes like other countries do. So I kept on going, and then we went to another one, and then all of a sudden we got it with Challenged Athletes Foundation, and they would pay for my coach and my airfare every year to go there, right? And then this other foundation that by the VFW, GW got, would help pay for the gym fee. So, GW and Robert found a lot of different people to help me live this dream of being a power lifter, in my 60s. And it took me out of depression. Okay. Then in 2002, they had the World Games here, but they had to go all the way down to Florida, right, for 8 days, because that was how long it was. And at age 62, 2012, at age 62, I broke the world records for Masters 3, which is 60 to 69-year-old blind athlete, blind power lifter in the bench press. And deadlift. Yeah, I did 418-pound deadlift.
Ooh. Wow.
But don't worry, the way Jon and I are going, we expect that to be 481 this year, right, Jon?
Funny what CrossFit can do to your system.
Well, that was my next question: is how does powerlifting then lead you into a CrossFit gym?
So the old gym I worked at, CrossFit University City, before I bought CrossFit Rittenhouse, the owner of that gym is the head of the Travis Manion Foundation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so they took you guys to an Eagles game?
They took us to the Army-Navy game.
That's right, Army-Navy game. And then we got hooked up. After the Army-Navy game, you came into CrossFit U-City.
Yeah.
And we started coaching you there.
Right.
Then I bought Rittenhouse during the pandemic. Always a good time to buy a gym.
Yeah.
And I kind of lost touch with Charles, honestly, for what?
Yeah, almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah,
and somehow
March of 2000 was the last time I was in the gym.
That was the last time anybody was in the gym in Philly. So once we reopened, I got his email from my old owner.
Yeah,
and I said, hey, Terrence, I want to keep in touch with Charles. And then one day he just popped up in the gym. And it was, from that day, it was just on from that. Yeah. It was just, we didn't even think about anything of the last year. We were just training again, going for it. And then that's how, and I incorporated more and more CrossFit into his training. And then he came in the gym one day. I'm like, hey, Charles, what's your email? What's your address? What's your birthday? I started asking him all these questions. 5-10 minutes later, he's like, why are you asking me all these questions? I'm like, well, they just created the adaptive division in the open, and I just signed you up as a 70-year-old in the open in the impaired division. He's like, I don't know what any of that means, but I'm ready to do it.
Yeah.
And, it actually gave us a reinvigoration of the training for sure. It was like something for him to, because there hadn't been any Olympics, any competitions.
The World Games were canceled. Everything was canceled in 20.
So now it gave him like a new focus. Yeah. And our training definitely took a step up in every way. And he's still strong. I'll tell you what.
And I love the GHD.
GHD is almost any chance he can, he's on the GHD. Yeah.
Dang, I was gonna say that's impressive because not a lot of people like the GHD.
No. What did we do today? 4 sets of 15? 5 sets of 15?
5 sets of sit-ups and the other thing. What do you call it? Hip extensions.
Yeah. Building up that core.
There you go.
Yeah, that was the first thing I asked him because I had him in the gym. Said, "Listen, what can you do for my core?"
Yeah, he didn't know anything about CrossFit. And he goes, "Will you make my core stronger?" I'm like, "We got you. We got you. Right there in the title. We're good."
And the thing that makes me so close to Jon is the fact his humanity. he has no qualms with doing like my first coach did, the powerlifting coach, right? Showing me his body, letting me feel the position, no matter what part, the back, the butt, the shoulder, where you're at, so that I can envision. Because I can't see what he's trying to do, right? Everything, when you're blind, blindness is a prison without bars and danger everywhere, and it's isolation, right? And it's aloneness, because everything's around you, but everything is danger, because when it's going to drop off, when the car's going to act crazy, when somebody, so you no longer have a social connection with the world or with people in the world. But when he takes time to say, okay, listen, we can do this, and I believe him. We can do this, right? Because he never tells me, no, you can't do this. Okay, let's figure out how we can do this. It's always how we can do this, right? And I just can't tell you how that carries on from my old coach, and makes me feel that, okay, somebody's in my corner. We're going to do this, He's going to be happy. I'm going to be happy, and we're going to achieve something, right? So, that's the relationship is a carryover from my other coach, my powerlifting coach. Now, I'm still going to do both sports.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. I'm hoping to go to the World Games this year. I haven't been to the World Games since the Olympiad Games for the blind in 2015. Whereas I had to compete against 18 to 23-year-olds, because there's no age group when you go to the Olympics.
Yeah. Man, you got a few decades on them there.
Still beating them, though.
I'm sure.
Heck yeah.
But I'm just having fun. If somebody would have told me long ago, when I was in such an abandoned state that I wasn't worth nothing and couldn't ever do anything, that people would help me do stuff like this today, and I'd be so excited about it and alive. Had they told me when I would have never lost hope.
But I think that's a testament to you, man.
Absolutely.
Like that, you talk about people helping you, but people can help you all as much as they want. But if you don't decide to take those steps too, and you don't decide to take that leap, nothing's going to happen. So I mean, just hearing that is a test. All the things that you've overcome is a testament to kind of your human spirit, and your fortitude and willingness to embrace the unfamiliar and the unknown to reach new heights.
Thank you very much. But like I said, the turning point was blindness and cripple. And I said, God, if you help me walk again. I mean, I thought blindness was the worst thing that can happen to me, right? I didn't think about blindness and being crippled, can't walk too, and then prostate cancer, and then diabetes, I have degenerative arthritis,
Jon, how has working with Charles helped you become a better coach?
Oh, man. I like it. It challenges me in a few ways. Like, we have the diabetes, right? Yeah. And I have to be careful when I tell him to step on the gas and where I tell him to back off. So I'm learning that side. I mean, I've worked with diabetics before, but when you add the blindness to the diabetics, I swear he burns more sugar than normal because he can't see. His brain's in overdrive all the time. And I actually recognize physical attributes of him when he's getting too fatigued. Like
some high blood.
Yeah, he needs sugar all the time, as opposed to eating the poor diet of too much. He's the opposite end. Even the way he sweats, I can tell the difference between when it's time to maybe get a glucose tab or just take a break. So I've learned a lot about that. But then, we take for granted when I say, hey, your back is this way, make it this way. Well, there's no, hey, check this out. Hey, look at this. Getting creative with cues has been good. Actually touching them. And we do a lot of what I call dry runs. Like for an open workout. Okay, we have thrusters and we have front squats. Here's a PVC. We're going to run through thrusters. And he's done them before with weight. I mean, he's clustered weight. Like, one day he was just like, I heard about this thing called a clean and jerk. I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's, maybe we'll, and he goes, no, I want to squat. I want to do, and I'm like, well, we're going to cluster today. Cause I just say, why not? I'll put a gymnastics pad behind him. If we're going to fall, we're going to fall. He didn't fall once, and we clustered up to 95 pounds.
Oh, damn.
So I was like, oh, we're going to thruster in the open? Whatever. But we do like those dry runs with PVC, or if it's going to have a dumbbell, I'll be like, here's a 10-pound dumbbell. And we do it strict first, like punch, squeeze. And then we add the speed, and then the load and the load and the load.
And the bands.
Yeah, we do a lot of banded work. Yeah, that's his strength side. I love it because people don't know how strong he is. So we have a couple of young studs in the gym, and I had him doing banded squats with, it was probably a couple of red bands and probably 135 on the bar. And I mean, total, we're getting up there in some weight when those bands kick in. And we had one guy unrack it, and it just sucked him to the ground. He just plowed to the ground. He's like, my God, Charles, I had no idea like what kind of, and to watch him squat, he's doing fives with that, and it just drew the guy out and threw him down. So his base strength is enormous. But I swear, if I tell him all the time, like, for what you do blind is amazing. If you weren't blind, you are athletically gifted more than even other people, because anything I teach him, he picks it up so fast. And that's why I always say, yeah, we can do this. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, he does.
Workout one, I go, hey, Charles, I didn't think about it. I've really, in my mind, I thought visually impaired would do jumping jacks, not double unders. Like, when's the last time you grabbed a rope? Charles, he goes, oh, man, I haven't jumped rope in about 40 years. Yeah. Gave him the rope, 30 unbroken, single unders. First jumps. And we have film of it. I filmed it. 30, I mean, just, that's it. You just give him something, and he does it, and you're like, I don't know how you just did that. I wouldn't do that. And then
you tried to correct my form.
There's always a little technique correction here and there. And I'm like, he can't even see where it is. But yeah, it's just, it's a good combination of, I guess I do have a lot of experience coaching, but I have a good learner and someone who has a foundation that always helped. If he had come in raw, like this was the first thing he ever did, I'm sure we'd be much further behind. But just the powerlifting background, anyone that can come in blind and squat day one, because I was like, well, let me see your squat. And I'm like, well, all right, we're not going to do much about that. That is really nice, And he did. I don't know about his powerlifting gym in particular, but he doesn't low bar squat, so he had a high bar upright position. Because I thought, powerlifting, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to fix some. No, he had high bar. He has great depth. Wow. And then I forget he's 70. You know what I mean? Like the other day, 5 strict pull-ups, like just bam, bam, bam. And other people are like, man, I can't wait to do a pull-up. I'm like, he's 70.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can. And that's the inspiration he has on my community. And they've embraced him big time is they see him do something and like, well, you know what? Maybe I should try a pull-up. Because I tell them all the time, I'm like, I bet you can. You just haven't tried. So when we try, we'll try. And they see him go and like, I got to try. This man has had everything under the sun. They all know his story. He's very open about it. And when they see him do something, they're like, well, he's doing it. I need to do it too. And so he inspires a lot of people in the gym. And that community helps him because, like he said, blindness is very internal. And then just people walking up and be like, how'd you do in the open? How are you doing? What's going on? It gives him a new group of people that care and talk to him. So I just get to see the whole thing, from a box owner perspective to athlete. I didn't tell him this, but I would love one day to get him in a level 1.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm on staff. I've thought about like, could we make a Braille edition? I don't know how it would work because I go through the things of the level 1 in my mind. I'm like, but he would love it. I just know he'd love that experience. We did Fran. So he'd be good at the level 1.
Yeah.
So, I think about that too. Like, well, we've gotten so inclusive this year and these adaptive divisions. What can we do for the level 1? It will be a unique challenge if he goes blind because he would almost need a coach or someone. He'd have to have someone kind of
just like they do in powerlifting. He's allowed to make sure, help me balance the bar and all that kind of stuff before I actually do the lift.
But I was thinking about that the other day, a Braille edition of the level 1 guide.
Yeah.
But you know what? See, people say I do all these things, but believe it or not, I have no idea. When he says you're strong, I have no idea what strength is. I mean, you know, what strength, because when you go to pull up, you know, like I said, my pilot said, yeah, pull up, hold it, pull up. Hold it. I mean, you know, we everything was in sections, you know, the muscle, you know, the half thing, everything like that. So now when I go to lift a weight, right, I never knew what my coach is going to put in the bar until my body feels it and my brain says, not again. I said, listen, do this, please.
I would say, oh, so we put 155 on the bar. He goes, I don't know what that means. Until he picks it up. It really, I mean, he knows the numbers, but at the end of the day, you know, or I'll be like, there's about 50 pounds of bands on this plus the weight. He's like, I don't know. He just grabs it and goes. And I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good.
Oh, man.
But that's what happens when you're blind. I mean, your other senses, you never know. With this palate, you never know until you get it, what you got. And then your body goes through the points of adjusting. So I remember at one meet, at one powerlifting competition, it was with sighted people too. My coach had some kind of weight on the bar. I said, Coach, this is uneven, right? You know, he says, no, that ain't uneven. You only got 275 on there. I says, okay, right? So after I did it, right, and they went to take the stuff off the rack, right? They said, we got a 5-pound plate on here some kind of way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they said, well, do you want to do it again or will you accept that? I said, no, but will y'all just listen to me when I tell you something? I mean, you know, listen to me, you know.
I trust his senses more than mine. I can tell you that. He'll say, I hear something over there. I'm like, I better go check it out because he knows when doors are open in the gym. Like it sounds different. The echoes sound different. It's like, yeah, just trust what he says. If he says the bar's uneven, first I look at his grip and then I'm like, yeah, I probably put the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Or the band may be in the wrong place. It may be an inch over too far. I mean, you know, stuff like that because all I know is
feel.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be weight along with it, you know. I got to balance the weight. And if I think my hands are balanced and the weight's not balanced, something else got to be wrong. But we have fun. I mean, I can't tell you what this means. This CrossFit is a whole new world to me.
And you mentioned that, but like we hear the journey so far and we think about, I mean, we talk about CrossFit all the time as this very stout, you know, fitness program but all the things that it can unlock for people. But you hear about your journey so far, the things you've been able to overcome, the things you've been able to put forward, you know, deadlifting over 400 pounds, you know, 5 strict pull-ups, getting to compete, you know, at different parts around the world. And I'm curious when you think about, you know, Charles King at 39 years old and Charles King now at 71 years old, what really stands out to you? And is there anything in particular that you're most proud of in that journey so far?
You know, I told God I quit because I didn't know what blindness was or how to live blind. And people had no compassion for the fact when I was telling, hey, y'all, I'm lost. And I said, no, you can do this. You know, you just got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And I thank God that my mom instilled in me with church that killing yourself or suicide is against God's law. Okay. In 1990, when I said, okay, I quit, you know, I was just depending on somebody else to kill me in the streets of Philadelphia. So anything I can say about Charles of 39 and Charles of 70, I thank my mom for instilling in me, God will make a way no matter what. Because just think if I had to kill myself, I never meet the people and do the things and find the inner strength, the spirit, you know, to smile again. See, nothing's changed. I still can't see. I still don't have a job, right? I'm still on Social Security, $500 something a month. You know, I beg every year at my GoFundMe, y'all, will you help me reach go to the World Games or go to the Nationals? You know, I get a heartbreak every year when I can't make it to the World Games, so I can set another record. Or, you know, after all the hard work I put in, I'm hoping for a sponsor. But I don't know about none of these things. But I'm just happy that God gives me the spirit and the people to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, hoping that one day something will change. You know?
What do you say to people who ask you, Charles, what are you doing?
I'm having fun. You know, I'm living a life that I never knew I could.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, I met, listen, I have 4 blind friends who are powerlifters. Totally blind now. One is currently ranked number 3 in Florida. And he got the same problem. As good as he is, he can't raise the money to go to the national and the world games every year. You know, because people get tired of you every year having to GoFundMe and stuff like that. Man, when we reach that point and we're less than the rest of the world, why don't these companies say, hey, we'll sponsor somebody like that? I mean, if what I'm really doing is so special.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't corporate America say, you know what? Hey, here's an athlete that has no business doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, I
think, you know, to your question, Sean, is like, what are you doing, right? He's enjoying life, which is awesome. But I don't think people, like, you hear about the diabetes, the this, that, and the other, but the sacrifices he's made financially, it's rough for even me to hear that the government, gives him $500 a month, and it costs him $14,000 to go to Korea to compete. And I'm like, well, we're in trouble, you know, like, how are we going to do that? Or, you know, I buy Charles food all the time that we get from like farm shares, stuff we can do just to help him out. Cause if he doesn't eat, he doesn't eat.
Yeah, that sugar just dropped.
And so we'll have a bad training day and it's things like that. Or like my gym already told him, so if there's bad weather, right, you can't take public transportation, but the transpo bus that'll take him door to door is $9 each way. Now my gym, we've already told him, we pay for that. Any day you come train, I don't care if it's snowing, lightning, you're coming to train, we pay you. Well, we pay for your rides. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just the little things like that of like the money that's not there that we gotta, you know, figure out a way for him. And, you know, the GoFundMe's help and the things help. Of course, the pandemic, we haven't had to worry about travel as much, but you know, yeah, it's just even you talk about all these other hardships, and now we got financial hardships. And then it's like, man, it's just like, it just, you hear it and you're just like, man, this is something, you know, just tough all around.
And I'm not lazy, you know, but I can't get a job even stocking shelves. You know what I mean?
And then to circle back to Rosa, who gave you $500 so you could compete?
When
Eric Rosa.
Yeah.
Before we knew any about this, Eric Rosa, a couple of years ago, because of Robert,
gave you
$750
in 2015 to help me.
Yeah. So that was even before all of this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you know Eric? He was, yeah, I know. I've heard. Well, I've never met him, but I know about him. And I'm like, you know, he's the new CEO of CrossFit. He's like, nope, didn't know. And it's like, man, this world is getting a little smaller, but in a good way. You know, like all the stuff we're doing, all the things Eric's doing, it's just all coming together.
And today was the first time I had a chance to thank him.
Yeah, he Zoomed us today, actually.
Oh, wow.
Good. Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We talked to him, and yeah, they've never actually got to meet in person, even though he said he was going to come into town and work out.
Work out with us. Yeah, he's going to come here and work out with us. Yeah.
All right.
Well, last time he came to town, I don't know when, but whenever he comes to town, him and Robert go to football games. I mean, or basketball or baseball games.
Yeah,
So like that. So
we just got this cool little moment today that was really
Nice.
You better tell him to bring his A game, because Charles, you're top 20 worldwide right now in your division. And I got to be honest, the 18 people in front of you are 2, 3, 4 decades younger than you. So you're putting up a good fight right now.
Yeah,
But you know what makes it so bad is, remember the last one I was trying to make my own way to the bar and to the other stuff, you know. And the time I take, because I'm totally blind, you know, takes away from how much I could do, the energy that I use. Like you said, we keep glucose tablets available during our workout, you know, and
just in case.
He sees I'm profusely sweating and breathing hard, and okay, time to give him some sugar, you know, glucose, because my brain is going to keep what it needs, my heart's going to keep what it needs, my lungs, are, you know, the parts of the body that the brain says we're going to keep on living. Your muscles don't matter to us, you know?
Yeah,
it's been good too. Speaking from that, like having him in this open if I hadn't had any adaptive athletes, I would have said, oh, this is a great division. This is a great thing. I'm glad we're doing that. But I've also got to learn a lot. Like there is a difference between visually impaired and blind. Because I watched one of the videos of one of the athletes. Man, that guy had a good score on the first workout. That's a lot of double unders and whatever. And I watched it, and he just ran across the gym, picked up his rope, started doing double unders, ran back to the wall. I'm like, oh, so he can see something. Like Charles, if I said, hey, Charles, run and get your rope, might not see him for a while because he's going to have to crawl around the whole gym on the floor. It doesn't work that way. So I'm like, that'll be cool to see it even. And if you put your score in as a visually impaired athlete, there's no age division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you say you're going to do double under, if you're going to do thrusters at 95, at 70, I was like, so what we did personally, we blended. If it was like a 55 and up thing that he could do, we would kind of steal from that. And then be like, well, you are a master's athlete of this age division. You can do this. And then if it was something that really meant, like instead of wall walks for visually impaired, it was actually tap, tap, push up. So we kind of took that and we put, you know, we've just made it how it is. So
nice.
And he's still, he's killing the workouts.
He is.
Take one thing away from that.
Remember with the jump rope, I couldn't stay. I was all over the place.
Yeah.
He said, "You're moving too much." I said, "I don't know where I'm moving to.
All I know is
in my brain that wherever the rope comes, if the rope's slanted that way on the way down, then my body moves that way on the way because I'm listening. Yeah. You know, everything I do is sensual. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a great difference between blind and visually impaired.
It'll be cool. You know, it's the first year. I'm super excited. It'll be cool to see maybe an age division to it, and then a scaled button of you know, visually impaired. You know, Charles isn't going to do a double under this open, but next I wouldn't be surprised if we have it by next open. But if there was even a scale, but I know how much work. Trust me, being closer to the sun than some, I know how much work they just put into making adaptive.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to give them just a little feedback and be like, hey, this is what I noticed. Take it or leave it. Don't really care. We had fun. At the end of the day, we had fun.
Always going to have fun. Listen, at 75, we're going to win it all.
Oh, all right.
I love it.
Never count it out. Never count it out.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
You see how easily he agreed with me?
Yeah, that's great.
And not put doubt upon him. So do whatever needs to be done.
That leads me to what is my final question. Is the two of you have seems what's like is such a very close bond. What have you learned from each other during your time together?
Go first.
Yeah,
I go first. All right. You know, he was a client, and then he was a friend. The friendship actually didn't take that long. Like I said, he brings you in rather quickly. I think you probably got your trust with me, and then it was basically open door. You know, meaning he shared his life with me, and I'm just like, man, this is I got nothing to complain about right now, you know, but, yeah, we became friends, and, you know, it excites me to watch him learn. It excites me to watch him do things. It really fired me up this year when we created the adaptive division, to see his enthusiasm. Like, we were training and he loved training.
I love it.
I mean, it doesn't matter what I do to him. He loves it. But then this new goal, I think for both of us, just really ignited something in both of us. And I'm like, we started doing new movements we hadn't really tried. Even before the Open, I was kind of looking at what the foundation movements were, the scale versions of things. And like, we're going to try this today. We're going to try that today. And I think, you know, it's just having someone, that trusts me that much. You know, I mean, my members trust me, but this guy, that's real trust. Like, you know, and his ability to just be so kind and giving, like how he has anything to give, you know what I mean? It's just every day, any email has a bunch of inspirational quotes for me.
Yeah.
You know,
that's how I keep myself up.
Yeah. He plays with my son. You know what I mean? Like, when my son comes into the gym, he plays. It's just seeing the whole thing, the members, him, the interaction. You know, when we talk about gyms and we want to create a community, I didn't find Charles and bring him in the gym. You know, we found each other, but what he does for my gym is that thing you always want. You know, he inspires, he entertains, you know, he makes people happy to be in the gym, and I'm happy if they're happy. You know, it's very reciprocal, but it definitely was something unique to our gym, was having Charles in there.
Now, what do you say behind that? No, but seriously, the friendship part. You know, he doesn't consider my story. He doesn't consider me a sad person because I have a tragic story. I don't know if you can understand that. People listen, oh man, that guy had a rough life. No, you know, okay, you had a rough life. You done made it through it. You're still smiling. Let's see what we can do to keep that smile going.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I'm willing to help you any kind of way. You know, and then when he heard about, you know, I told him, listen, I like hamburger, but I don't like that hamburger. I like to go to the store and get ground beef and stuff. He gets me ground beef. And this weekend I made my own hamburgers and had bush beans. And, you know, I mean, and can you imagine how hard it is for me to cook? Okay, but he understands that, hey, I like to be able to cook my own food instead of getting this fast food stuff and all that kind of stuff, because you know, it's something when I could see I used to do. I was particular about food, but then you lost your sight. You can't cook. What I like could be right in front of me. The women pick at the Powerball could be on the floor. I wouldn't know it. But the love of his friendship, I've sensed. The minute I think about the CrossFit gym and working out, you know, his family loves me. It's all right. So,
well, Charles and Jon, we really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. It's an inspiring story. I hope to meet you in person someday soon, and we will certainly do our best to get the word out there about your GoFundMe and get you to all the competitions that you want to get to.
Oh yeah,
thank you. Oh, you got my GoFundMe?
I'll send it.
Okay.
I'll email.
Yeah, we'll make sure we post it.
That's my dream right now, just to be able to compete at this age and show the football players that, you know, just because they retired, they shouldn't quit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Might see Charles an appearance in Madison, maybe too.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
I actually have the GoFundMe pulled up right now. So anyone that's listening and not watching, if you go to GoFundMe.com, you go in the search bar, you type in King Blind Senior Athlete. The first thing that pops up is a picture of Charles killing it with two 50-pound dumbbells with some medals around his neck. And that's the GoFundMe that you can check out and donate and support his journey. So
Robert or GW took that picture.
Yeah. In front of the art.
Yeah,
that's the Rocky steps.
Yeah.
The Rocky.
Yeah. Those are the two guys from the VA.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, okay. Yeah.
How involved they get with us, the blind veterans. You know, they do everything they can for us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to speak with us. And we look forward to seeing you both very soon.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.